Hi guys, Mrs. Holman here with another science video. Today we are continuing our three-part series on the Earth-Sun-Moon system. In our first video, we discussed days, years, and seasons. This video will focus on the lunar cycle, and the last will focus on eclipses and tides. So let's get started. The moon is a satellite of Earth. A satellite is a body that orbits a larger body in space. The time it takes for the moon to rotate on its axis is the same as it takes to revolve around the Earth, approximately 29 Earth days. Therefore, we always see the same side of the moon. This is called being tidally locked. As the moon revolves around the Earth, the portion of the moon that reflects sunlight back to Earth changes, causing the moon's appearance to change. The lunar cycle in order goes: new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last or third quarter, waning crescent, and then it restarts back at the new moon. Before we go in depth on these phases, I want to review some important vocabulary. Crescent means less than half of the moon appears lit. Quarter means 1/2 appears lit. I know that sounds misleading, but this name is referring to the position in its cycle rather than how much is actually lit, which we will get to in just a moment. Gibbous means more than half appears lit. Now notice I said appears lit. This is because half of the moon is always illuminated by the sun, but we usually only see a fraction of what is actually lit. I'll explain more about that later in this video. Waxing means the lit part is increasing. A good way to tell this is that when the moon is in a waxing phase, the right side will be illuminated. Waning means the lit part is decreasing. A good way to tell this is that when the moon is in a waning phase, the left side will be illuminated. Now that we have a basic understanding of the lunar vocabulary, let's talk a little bit more about each phase. Each cycle begins with a new moon. The moon is between the sun and Earth so that it reflects no light to Earth. During this phase, there appears to be no moon in the sky. This lasts for only one night. As the moon continues in its orbit, only a small sliver called a crescent, it may remind you of a crescent roll, can be seen. This phase is called waxing crescent. Again, waxing means the bright side is increasing. This crescent will increase until it reaches the next phase. The next phase is called the first quarter. This is when the entire right half of the moon is illuminated. At this phase, the moon looks like a half circle. It is 1/4 of the way through its cycle, and this lasts for only one night. The next stage is the waxing gibbous. Again, gibbous means that more than 1/2 of the moon can be seen. The gibbous will increase until it reaches the next phase. The next phase is the full moon, when the moon appears fully lit. The Earth is between the moon and the sun. The entire illuminated side is facing Earth and lasts for only one night. At this point, we are officially halfway through the lunar cycle. The moon is now in the waning gibbous phase. Waning means the illuminated side is decreasing. The gibbous will decrease until it reaches the next phase. Keep in mind, the left side is now illuminated compared to the waxing phases where the right side was illuminated. The next phase is the last or third quarter, when the entire left half of the moon appears illuminated. At this point, less than half. At this phase, the moon looks like a half circle again. This lasts for only one night. The last phase is the waning crescent. Now the moon is in the waning crescent phase. Less than one half of the moon appears illuminated. It decreases until it reaches the new moon phase again, and the cycle repeats. So you may be wondering, how do the different photos you have seen on these slides connect? Let me show you. Here we are looking at a top-down view of the Earth-Sun-Moon system. This is to help us understand how the two different photos we were looking at before connect. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone of two things. First, half of the moon is always illuminated by the sun. However, on Earth, we only see a fraction of that illuminated side due to the moon's position. What phase the moon is in determines which fraction we see. Second, the lunar cycle takes about 29 days. The new moon, first quarter, full moon, and third quarter phases last for only one night. However, the other phases last for more than one night. So, for example, the waxing crescent lasts from the new moon phase all the way to the first quarter phase. And the crescent is growing every night from just a teeny tiny sliver of light to almost half illuminated. So now let's look at how these phases connect. We are starting with the new moon phase. The sun is behind the moon, so the illuminated side of the moon is on the far side. From our perspective, none of the moon appears illuminated. Moving on to the waxing crescent. Notice the right side is illuminated, and this crescent will grow until we reach the first quarter. Next, we have the first quarter. We are a quarter of the way through the lunar cycle. The right half of the moon appears lit. Again, this phase lasts for one night, and then we move on to the waxing gibbous. Remember, waxing means increasing, and we have been increasing how much appears illuminated. Notice also that more than half appears lit, and this will increase until we reach the full moon phase. At the full moon phase, we can see the entire illuminated side of the moon. Here, the Earth is between the sun and moon, and we are officially halfway through the lunar cycle. Now we are moving on to the waning phases. The amount of the moon that appears lit is now decreasing. We have the waning gibbous. First, I want you to notice the illuminated side has switched. In the waxing phases, the right side was lit. In the waning phases, the left side is lit. This waning gibbous will decrease until we reach the third quarter phase. We are now 3/4 of the way through the lunar cycle. Here, the left half of the moon appears illuminated. The third quarter moon lasts for only one night, and the lit side will continue decreasing into the waning crescent phase. In the waning crescent phase, less than half of the moon appears illuminated on the left side. This will decrease until we reach the new moon phase again. We have now completed one lunar cycle, and it will begin again. Thank you so much for watching. Have a marvelous day.